Now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us once again. Another week of the Pick and Go podcast ready to go. It's business time in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. 1 week to go. A couple of final spots up for grabs. So we're called on the big guns all the way back from Sydney. Matthew Fisk, what a pleasure to have you in studio. How are you, mate?
It's a bloody pleasure to be here, Pat. Thank you very much. I'm pumped to be going to watch the Hurricanes live tonight. It's a little bit of sorrow there because I thought this would be a huge match, them fighting for a final spot, but I'm going to enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, classic Hurricanes fans behaviour. We let them get our hopes up, and as is always the case, they've hurt us. They've, couldn't quite get the job done against the Brumbies, but still should be a fun game at the Cape Town tonight. And a man who's very familiar with that feeling as well, Paul Moati. Paul, thanks for hobbling your way into studio. Appreciate the hard yards you're doing for the Pick and Go podcast.
Well, I do. I have a lot of scar tissue from previous Hurricane seasons, and just added another bit of damage to my body after they unfortunately went down to the Brumbies last weekend.
Credit where it's due, though. I've wandered the streets of Wellington this week, and whilst everyone's disappointed, no one's turned on Geordie. He's been so good for so long. Even brilliant players get it wrong from time to time.
But that's the thing, right? No one else in the team was taking that kick. Like, he's
Correct.
only in the position to take those kicks because he's been smashing them over from 50 metres for the last 24 months or so.
Yeah.
The goal kicker conundrum, it's one of the most ridiculous when people turn on him. Yeah.
Geordie's very resilient. I expect him to have a blinder tonight.
And we'll get into it later on, but I think I think maybe the Reds have knocked off a week early for the season. So yeah, it could be a pretty fun watch at the Cape tonight, but we'll get into that shortly. First, I think we should probably go back and recap. It was a pretty good round of rugby last weekend. Had 3 or 4 really competitive games starting on Friday night down in Christchurch. The Force probably didn't really put up a fight, but they did just enough to nick that bonus point off the Crusaders in the last second with the beautiful kick over the top and old mate running home completely uncontested to score the try to get it within 8 points. Cost a couple of the boys their value bets as well. I think Carl was on Crusaders 11-20, and everyone got the plus up on the Force who were on a couple of best bets there. This is now what the second week out of 4 the Crusaders, both their home games, haven't managed to get a bonus point. Is that a cause for concern, or just sort of they let their foot off the gas, rested a few guys, and they'll be good to go again next week?
You always know that, and just as we expect the Hurricanes to stumble at the penultimate hurdle, we always expect the Crusaders to do just enough to get into the final. And so I think even though they have dropped a couple of bonus points in the last couple of weekends, they're still there, and they'll know exactly what they need to do after the Highlanders play the Brumbies. So whatever needs to be done, I have no doubt will be done by the Crusaders this weekend.
Yeah.
Crusaders have a lot of gears, more gears than any other team, and they know how to use them all. They'll switch down a gear if they think they've got a team under control, and then when they see a test, and I think going to Queensland in round 2, that was a genuine test. The Australian champions, let's go over there, and boy, didn't they make a statement. So they'll lift when they have to.
Absolutely. I think you sort of saw that anger in Razor's reaction at the end there where the Force scored that try, and I think that was more him knowing he'd probably messed up by resting a few of the key players rather than any concern with what the actual team, because they probably, this is before the Hurricanes had lost, obviously, they probably thought they did need a bonus point out of that game, so that was more an introspective thing, I think, rather than any concern about what the outsiders have to throw at them, because they'll all know in that camp, like they've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, that when push comes to shove, they can rise to a whole different level to any other team on the playing field, right?
Yeah, no breakdancing last weekend.
No. Yeah. Is he going to breakdance if they win? Is this competition a breakdancing worthy competition?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Particularly if they have to go to Auckland and win it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll definitely see the breakdance on Eden Park.
Oh, yeah, that'll cause riots in the city of Australia, you'd think. Yeah, very disrespectful. But
so I'm hearing rumours that Moati got some breakdancing on Wednesday night. Is that how you did your calf? Some breakdancing?
Yeah, different code, Fisky, so I don't really want to talk about it.
But if you do head to our Facebook page, I think it's the pinned video from our little State of Origin viewing party, you can actually see the exact moment where Paul's calf pops and he's
Back to Super Rugby Trans-Tasman.
All right. Do you want to talk about the Blues?
I think once again it's pretty similar to the Crusaders force. They always had them at arm's length, and whilst Reds did really well to, I guess, cover right at the end, depending if you got the 7.5 start, but Blues were always ahead by that a little bit more than a try. So I thought they did what they had to do. You know, Reds, it's a tricky game out there, as the Chiefs found out the week before. So once again, look, can't fault the Blues at all. They have been the most impressive side so far in this tournament. And they'll be very confident coming back home playing the Force this Saturday.
Yeah, you got to think so. I actually thought this game was sort of a tick in the column of the format of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. It's obviously a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy the way that's worked out with the New Zealand teams not playing each other. But if that game, it was just down to what who was the winner was going to be. The Blues were never really in serious danger of losing it. But the whole needing a bonus point and needing to keep pace with the Reds throughout the second half actually made it a really enthralling watch, I thought. And both teams were throwing the footy around a bit. It was a pretty wide open game. A lot of really impressive backs on display. I was pretty impressed what I saw from the Reds, even in a losing effort. So, for me, it was really a plus, and it goes to show this competition, even if it hasn't been the most competitive at times, can still throw up some really entertaining footy.
Were the Reds playing to be the best Australian team in the comp?
Well, they've already won the Australian comp. Like, do they care about that, or?
Well, I mean, just in terms of this Trans-Tasman.
Well, I think if you look at now that the Brumbies have nudged back ahead of them on the table, and then the squad they've sent to Wellington, I don't think it's the biggest concern of Brad Thorne and co. But look, I'm not in the camp, so
no.
I tried to get in, they kicked me out. So here's how you do a chip and chase, but it was not well appreciated. But I don't know. How about you, Paul? Were you impressed with the Blues, or was that maybe obviously the Reds have beaten the Chiefs not long ago, but there were some extenuating circumstances there. Was that managing to get the result against a tough side across the Tasman a good thing, or do you think maybe a few little Blues type issues creeping in that they might want to snuff out before they have to go up against the Crusaders potentially?
No, I was impressed with the way the Blues went about their business. As you say, the game was never really in any doubt. And I guess it was just a matter of let's get the win. Let's get out of here without any serious injuries. And then let's set up a big grand final at Eden Park in a couple of weeks' time, or in a week's time now. So we've seen the Blues do this before, though. I guess they're not quite like the Hurricanes, but they seem to perform really, really well during the regular season, and then sort of almost freeze when they get onto the big stage. So a number of them have had experience now. So hoping, and I can't see them getting beaten by the Force, I'm hoping that the Blues will be able to sort of take the foot off the pedal. They'll know exactly what they need. They're probably in the best position of all three teams, knowing the results of the Highlanders match and the Crusaders match before they play their game.
Yeah.
So they'll know exactly what they need to do. And I can't see them not having a home final.
Well, they've got that extra point, right? So they're on 19. Everyone else is chasing on 18.
If they win with a bonus point, the finals, that's it.
Lock it in.
They're playing the Force at home.
Yeah, it's almost unbackable.
Well, the Force have only given up a bonus point to the Hurricanes. They've all three other games. I know two of them were obviously over in Western Australia, but they kept the Crusaders within 3 tries last Friday night. Like, they haven't been. I don't think they've maybe played the most scintillating rugby, but they've been very Force-like and tough to deal with. And
they are that sort of niggly team who like to, instead of playing expansive football. Well, I guess they've got the Argentinian 9 and 10.
So and a few old heads in the forward pack.
Correct. So that they keep it fairly tight. It didn't quite go to plan against the Hurricanes, who in that match it just seemed that everything they did turned to gold. But outside of that, the Force have been very, very good to upset game plans of their opposition and to keep games fairly close.
But so are we all on this panel expecting it to be Blues Crusaders Eden Park in 8 days' time? No one's.
Carl Tiley just sent me a message. He said, no, the Highlanders will be playing the Blues.
There's a reason he's not on this week.
Yeah, I just can't see it. The Blues, clearly superior to the Force and pretty much just need to win. But if they need the bonus point, they'll probably get that too. And Crusaders' last shot at them, they just know what they've got to do. They're playing the Rebels, Leichhardt Oval, weather's fine in Sydney, and Rebels been living out of a suitcase. Enough's enough. They've been in some high-scoring, close games, but I think that's only because the opposition are happy to entertain them. Crusaders will be ruthless, and this will be a cricket score.
Yeah, that sort of brings us on to the next game from last week, where the Highlanders, as you predicted, put up a huge score on the Waratahs, ran in the tries, got the bonus point. But boy, they must be kicking themselves for letting that bonus point slip at Leichhardt against the Rebels the week before, because that, the way they've been playing, that they should have cleaned up the job. They scored 2 tries early on and looked like they were coasting, and then just couldn't really put their foot on the throat like the Crusaders probably would have in that same situation. Do you think?
I think it's a Super Rugby Aotearoa played all over. I thought Highlanders were quite impressive in that, but never really challenged for the final. They just seem to let themselves down, even though they're playing good footy, and that's what they did a fortnight ago. They'll be confident. All they can do is go up to Canberra and put the best foot forward and try and win by a big margin. Even then, and they could get some luck when the Crusaders play the following day. But I think their ship has sailed.
Yeah, no, it is tough, but they're still technically in the box seat, but obviously it's a much tougher matchup having to go to Canberra than it is taking on the Rebels, who been living away from home for 3 weeks' time on a sunny afternoon at Leichhardt. But that does, we've got to talk about it. Saturday evening, 12:10. I talked myself into it. All my best bets were around the Hurricanes. Fisky was telling me, no, you're crazy. It's going to be -4 or whatever it was in Canberra. And yeah, an absolute dogfight of a game. Full disclosure, I wasn't keeping both eyes on the telly at Eastbourne Rugby Club at about 10 o'clock on Saturday night, but I saw the...
I think they were pretty glazy eyes at that stage too, Patrick.
No comment. But yeah, it was obviously not the prettiest of watches. What went wrong, Paul?
The Brumbies, the Brumbies played very, very well.
Yeah.
And as Fisky said, it's always pretty cold in Canberra this time of the year, and it was. They defensively they were very, very good. The Hurricanes didn't help themselves by not having 15 people on the field at all times.
Sounds like the Hurricanes.
And I'm not blaming Geordie, but catches win matches in cricket, and usually kicking goes a long way to winning matches in Super Rugby. So
I think they shouldn't have put themselves in that position in the first place, though.
No,
right?
no, that's definitely. But credit to the Brumbies; they were very, very good.
Yeah, and especially coming off 2 big losses over in New Zealand, like they had nothing to play for, really. I don't know, if this top Australian team and the competition we're all getting walloped is something they're actually that keen on, but to show up and put it forward, because it was a gritty defensive performance. Like they obviously held the Hurricanes to 1 try, and it was defensively where they won that game. So you have to say shout out to them. I got to ask though, was it a knock on?
Fisky?
In the lead up to the trial that was disallowed.
The Hardy try, yeah.
Probably by the letter of the law. I was happy to let it go, actually.
Yeah. I think you could have called it either way, right? But probably if you're going upstairs saying it's a try and then you need indisputable evidence, but it's another one. It's like you can't be relying on that sort of thing to. Yeah. And we've had enough TMO chat on this podcast this season to last us a lifetime. So.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah. No, it's there was no forward pass controversy, at least, because of had plenty of that. I don't think we need to touch too much on Chiefs Rebels, right? They're a bit of hidden giggle.
Definitely hidden giggle.
Yeah. Exhibition match.
Yeah. No, the Chiefs will be happy to just get done with the Waratahs and get back this side of the Tasman, I imagine, after suffering that loss to the Reds.
So that was, another match at Leichhardt Oval, which is only 2 days after a brilliant performance by the West Tigers, knocking off Panthers. So Rugby Union podcast, but shout out to the West Tigers.
Shout out to the 7 guys the Panthers were missing for that game as well.
And we've got one match at Leichhardt to finish the season as well. Rebels, once again, will be there against the Crusaders.
Should they make that their permanent home ground?
Well, they're only getting beaten by, say, 10 or 12 there, so that's pretty good for the Rebels.
Should we wait till about 7 o'clock on Saturday, Arvo, before we make that call? Because that could become a much larger number if the Crusaders really get their claws into them. Yeah, it has at least set up 3 pretty interesting games for this weekend.
So before we go there, how did we go on our betting last week? Do we want to
the spreadsheet corrupted itself.
Oh,
and I
no.
got access to it. Yeah,
That's terrible.
I spilled a gin and juice on it on Sunday afternoon, so that it all went.
Go Snoop.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that
Shout out to Snoop.
Brumbies were the value play, and they saluted. And pretty sure we went the overs in the Highlanders Waratahs as the best bet.
No, I have managed to recover it here actually, and of course it was Matthew Fisk once again leading the way heroically for the Pick and Go podcast. I think you might have actually been tipped up by Rissy for the week's best tipster, but clearly still well ahead in the overall standings. $1,270 in the green you are now.
Bang.
Over 4 weeks. That's a $300 profit every week if you
stick with me.
Fisky's tips.
Just don't follow my origin tips.
Yeah, less said about that, the better. But Latrell Mitchell got across the line for me at least, so that was something. But I won't say how far down the rest of us are, but let's just say me, Paul, and Carl. Well in arrears. Rissy actually had a pretty good week last week. Reds plus 7.5, getting across the line at the buzzer. Unfortunately for Paul, who was on Blues plus 7.5 for his best bet. Blues minus 7.5. Yep. Rissy also had Brumbies 1 to 12 at $4, and the Highlanders minus 15.5 as multi-anchor. Yeah, Fisky was big on the Waratahs over. It opened up at 65.5 with us, but still absolutely flew past.
Over.
Yeah, 82. Phenomenal.
Never in doubt. Brumbies head-to-head for your value, and then Blues at $1.34 multi-anchor. Carl also getting his best bet up, forced minus 29.5.
Plus.
Yep. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Maybe you should host this podcast.
Like you said, the spreadsheet was corrupted.
Yeah, and I'd like to... bit of a fist bump for the two of us. We got our multi-anchors up for the week.
Boom.
It was not an offer.
Hello.
Yeah. How good. But yeah, it's full disclosure, I'm going to be chasing hard. I need to overturn a $2,000 gap to Fisky at the top of the table. So
you're going to throw out some.
Oh yeah.
Oh, party time.
You think
Here we
the TAB big league sweepstake winners are getting leery with their 7 and 8 league multis? Wait till you see what I've got cooked up in a minute. But it's that's a tough scene all around other than Fisky. So, yeah, shout out to Fisky. Clearly the MVP of the tipping comp so far.
Thank you.
I knew you came back into the studio for some reason. So.
It was like the Wolf of Wall Street walking back into his office there when I came in the other day.
People were cheering.
In the scene after he left the nightclub? Or?
We could get out of hand if we bring up too much Wolf of Wall Street.
You really dangled a carrot in front of me there.
Take a quaalude.
Anyway,
back on rugby.
Round 5 of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. I don't know if we want to go and probably makes sense to go in chronological order here, given the
might as well go time order.
Knock-on effect. That too, yeah.
Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I'm about to resign as host of this podcast. It's all too much. Yeah.
So I'll give it a crack. Tonight at the Cake Tin, Hurricanes hosting the Reds. Obviously, Hurricanes have a extremely minor hope of making the final. They need a million things to go their way. Named a very strong side. The Reds, conversely, have left a few back in Queensland. So what are we thinking here, boys?
Hurricanes in a dead rubber seems like just something.
Money.
Actually, that's probably true, right? The pressure's off. They have named a pretty strong team again. The Reds, obviously, not so much. I haven't dug too deep into the Hurricanes lineup, but I saw, you've got all the big names back. Nani Lamape's last game in a Hurricanes jersey, so obviously he's pretty tight with a lot of the boys. They'll be pretty fired up too.
Dane Cole's back on the bench.
Yeah. Just come and inject a bit of niggle in the last 30 minutes of dead rubber, which would be good to see. Ruben Love and Nani starting in the 10 and 12 jerseys. It can rack up a lot of points last week, but I still think that's the best combination we've got there.
Well, we only have to go back 2 months, and they played in a dead rubber in last round of Super Rugby against the Highlanders. The line was 2.5, and Hurricanes ended up winning 41-22.
They put it on them, yep.
Yeah, and I think they'll do the same. I'm extremely confident. I think Lamape will go out with a bang, and he's very popular amongst the team. He's heading offshore. A few of the All Blacks want to finish the season before they go into camp on a strong note. Reward their fans. A bit of unfinished business from last week. I think they want to redeem themselves. Reds they've had their win on the road, pretty weak inside. I think this will get ugly.
Yeah, so what the line as we speak is 13.5. It was 12.5 before the team, so it's starting to nudge out. Not sure if it'll get over that key number of 14, but I take it you're all on the one side of that, Fisky. You reckon it could get big.
Yeah, I see that Vuniasi, what's the old Storm player?
Suliasi Vunivalu.
Vunivalu, apologies. And he's out. He hasn't made the trip, and fullback's out as well, Hegarty. So
Got a Mac Greeley at fullback.
Who's got the
actually
10?
Hegarty's gone to 10.
Yeah,
from because James O'Connor's out. So bit of experience missing there. Two of their marquee backs are out. Pretty much the rest of the side's unchanged. I'm all over this -13. I think it's close to the 20 mark, and even then I'd probably lean to the minus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, I'm with you here, Fisky. I think with the pressure off, the fact that it's Lomapi's final game for the Canes, it all points towards. And before we walked into the studio, the sun was up in the sky. Looks like it's going to be a great night down there at the stadium. So I think we'll see some nice open rugby with the Hurricanes running in a number of tries.
Can I interest anyone in over 58.5 total points? Is that something we could, bit of a
I looked at
festival
that.
game?
I looked at that.
Throw it around.
I don't know if it's a true festival. I think there's other games where as long as they get the win, they're happy to let the other team score a few. I think, like I said, I think there's a bit of unfinished business for the Canes. I think they want to win well, but really rub the Reds' noses in it. And it might be one of those scores where it could be 50-7 or something like that. 45-10, and then maybe sneak on the under. I wouldn't back the under. I still like the over, but I'm probably not going to charge into that over 58.
Fair enough. Just having a flick through and seeing if there's any power plays that jump out, but I might come back to that when we
anything with Lomapi. Have a good go. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Lomapi, first, second, or third try scorer, and Hurricanes win $5.
Wow, that's a ripper.
How about this one? Geordie Barrett and Naomi Lomapi, 3+ tries combined, $7.
Yeah, I've got a couple there. I'll
that's
put them on at tracks near the ground before we go and wander up. Can't wait.
Naomi Lomapi, 2+ tries. Hurricanes win 20-30, $18. Just maybe chuck a gold coin on that as well if you're floating around. But yeah, I think that probably sums up. Obviously, not a lot riding on it, but hopefully see a good performance from the Canes to close out the season. But there is a lot riding on the next game we got coming up tonight, 9:45 over in Canberra. The Highlanders trying to do what the Hurricanes couldn't and go to the Australian capital and walk away with 5 points. If they do that, they'll be suiting up again next Saturday night. But hold on. Hold on a minute. Because they're actually on the same amount of points as the Crusaders. So they need a big score here realistically. And from what we saw from the Brumbies last week, I'm not sure the Brumbies are a team you want to be playing when you need a big score. Would you be in agreement with that, Paul?
Definitely. I mean, it's not going to be any warmer than it was last weekend. In fact, they've had a bit of snow in New South Wales. So if it's snowing in New South Wales, I think the next ice age is about to arrive. It will be very, very tough for the Highlanders tonight in Canberra. So obviously, first of all, they have to pick up the win, and then they can worry about points differentials and also bonus points. Yes, picking up the win will be tough enough without thinking about the bonus point.
Do you reckon they'll pick up the win? They're
yes, I do.
Still pretty short on the head-to-head market, right? They're $1.32, around about that same price the Canes were last week. Just going down to the point start here, 7.5-point favourites.
I'm pretty bullish. Actually, I know I was all over the Brumbies last week. I like the Highlanders this week. They've got Aaron Smith starting the match, and he was rested last week along with Shannon Frizzell. So both of them starting. This is their best possible side, and it's a good-looking side. Look, Brumbies competed really well. They don't have a lot of points in them, and the only way they were going to win that was to keep the Canes to 10 points.
Yep.
They're not going to do that to the Highlanders. So I think if they do get ahead and it looks like it's game over, I think they might be able to get close to a 15, 20-point win. I think they could. I know that's getting ahead of ourselves. You've got to get the win first, but I don't know if the Brumbies will have a lot late if the Highlanders are on top. So, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on the Highlanders this week. I think they won't be underestimating them. They'll go in really hard, and I think the Brumbies will really have to live to go with them.
A couple of key outs for the Brumbies as well. No Noah Lolosio at 10. They've got Bailey Quinsley. Sorry, apologies to Bailey and his family starting at 10 there. And then Len Ikitau, who hasn't played a lot of rugby for them this season either, starting at centre. Solomoni Kata, not in the starting lineup this week. He's been pushed back to the bench. But yeah, it's not the strongest Brumbies team we've seen either. It's sort of like the Reds, probably. They've
had their win.
Yeah, had their win. Although at least they are at home, so not the travel factor involved. But yeah, the Highlanders, I think that they've actually, after playing a lot of musical chairs, especially in the backline early in the season, seem to have nailed down a backline. You got Mitch Hunt's been pretty solid at 10. They seem to be keen on this Gregory Collins midfield combination. And then Ioane at fullback and Jonah Nareki providing plenty of X factor out wide. So they do have points in them, which if the Brumbies aren't as switched on defensively as they were last week, they can maybe get a run on. But yeah, it's still going to be cold and pretty miserable down in Canberra. So
it'll be cold and tough conditions, but it's actually quite clear. The track will be reasonably fast, just a bit of dew on it. So there's no wind there generally. So I think if they keep ball in hand and they get ahead, like I say, I think they could rack up a few late tries.
And like I know these guys play their professional footy under a roof, but they all do live down in Dunedin, and that they've trained and played plenty of club rugby in pretty cold conditions down there as well, right? So it's maybe the weather in Wellington's a bit different, where it's not quite so cold, but it's more the wind and the rain.
How do you handle those conditions in the day, Paul?
I usually pulled a hammy at training on the Thursday, so I didn't play when I knew the weather was going to be bad the Saturday.
It's the best time to be playing rugby. A bit of mud and rain going around.
Bring everyone back to your speed, Pat.
Yeah. No, just turn everything into one big ruck, and no one gets away from me then. Yeah. Looking for. Of course, one other thing we need to touch on: try time tonight, Canberra. Paul, can you tell the punters what that is?
Yeah. So. As you just said, the try time game is the Brumbies Highlanders game tonight, kicking off at around 9:45. So place a pre-match $30 or more anytime try scorer bet on the Brumbies Highlanders match and get a $5 bonus bet for every try scored in that match. And as Fisky and yourself have both said, you do expect the Highlanders to put on a few points. So we could see a significant bonus bet being paid out to punters after the game.
I don't like the $15 bonus bet they got last week, so they probably owed one, right? Yeah. I don't know.
To be fair, that's probably it's an outlier, an anomaly.
I don't know who in the marketing department keeps picking Brumbies games for try time, but
someone very cost conscious, I think.
You'd have to say so. No, it should. Although I don't know if we'd be here if we'd put it on the Highlanders Waratahs game. Might have had to shut the microphones. Yeah. Do you have a try time pick for us though, Paul?
Nareki.
Yeah.
What's he paying?
$1.62.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you guys. I think there will be a few tries scored by the boys from down south. But yeah, Nareki, if you want to go a wee bit leery, maybe Ash Dixon.
Wee bit leery at 210.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. He's
starting on the bench too.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
No, he's in the starting team, Ash Dixon.
Sorry, I'm looking at last week.
Oh, 210's a great price.
Yeah. Then Dane Coles and Kurt Eklund both got across the line against the Brumbies the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, Ash is more of a rolling maul exponent rather than where Dane likes to do his work out
on the wing,
in the channel, shall we say? But, so Ash Dixon I had circled as my best bet. But if you want one a little bit leery, Kazuki Himeno, 375, starting at number 8. I think he's really hit his straps, sort of, as he's got used to.
He's looked good, hasn't he?
He's been awesome.
He's a good footballer.
And he's looks really, really dangerous balls in hand. The Brumbies, I think they've conceded 5 tries to loose forwards in Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. A couple of the Crusaders blokes, Blackadder and Cullen Grace, who've got similar sort of powerful running games, got over. So I can see him getting on the end of a short ball or something later on, maybe. I think 375 is a pretty nice price for him. How about you, Fisky?
Yeah, I'm going to go my man Ioane from the back. I think he'll chime in at the right time, probably towards the back end of the second half. But I think things will open up for him and he'll get across the line. 310.
Nice one. But that leads us on tomorrow. Rebels Crusaders 4:35. The Crusaders, as we've said, will know exactly what they need to do depending on how the Highlanders go tonight.
So the Highlanders, we're pretty confident they're going to win. Are they going to win with a bonus point?
If you had to ask, I'd say no.
Okay. Yeah. So their points differential at the moment, they've got 11 points better than the Crusaders. So say they win by
15.
That's a 26-point differential with the Crusaders. If they don't get the bonus point, then the Crusaders know a win with the bonus point gets them in.
And guess what the point start is? 27 and a half.
26.
Or 26 and a half, yeah. So it's kind of falling right where we think.
Yeah. And just going to go back through the last few results. The Crusaders against the Rebels.
Yep.
Last time they played, 2019, 66-0. Time before that, 55-10. 41-19 in 2017.
Oh,
85-26 in the meeting before that. So I get the feeling if the Crusaders need a big number, they're going to get it, right?
how many of those games were played at Leichhardt Oval?
I don't know the exact number, but I think it's
Exactly.
close to 0.
And
Yeah.
it is a day game too. So that does help points. It I like a little bit of a multi there. It's actually quite a clever one. I don't know if I'll pull it out when we're doing our best bets, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no doubt the Crusaders, they've named a pretty strong team. Gave you guys the week off last week, I think, knowing that they were going to need to put a score on this week, depending. They probably were expecting the Hurricanes to win, so they knew they'd need a bonus point, but they'll have had all their eyes on this game. And yeah, the Rebels, the Highlanders and Chiefs let them hang around a bit, but the Crusaders won't be making that same mistake. I think this will be one-way traffic. I don't know if you agree with that as well, Paul, but
It will be one-way traffic. It will be. The Crusaders will absolutely smash the Rebels. They will do whatever they need to do to get in the final.
no doubt. Last consequential game of the round, at least, is straight after that at Eden Park. The Blues $1.02 favourites as they host the Force. Well, that just doesn't sound right saying it. Blues $1.02 favourites, but that's what they are. Still sitting clear at the top of the table. The only team to have picked up 3 bonus points from 4 games. Another bonus point victory.
Hurricanes have picked up 3 bonus points from 4 games.
Look, and 4 victories.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
So I think the Blues, in their defence, you're saying $1.02 short. I think that's a deserved price. They match up really well against the Force. The Force strengths is that the pack and the kicking game and the grind, and I think that actually suits the Blues. I think they'll play it where the Force want it, but be way better at it. I think they'll absolutely monster them. They'll score points at will, but only after they've achieved dominance at the breakdown in the set piece. Force have had this is the 3rd game of a road trip. Season's over. I'm expecting a massive score for the Blues.
right, yeah, they're sort of like what we said when they played the Brumbies a couple of weeks ago, and I think put 28 points on them. It's that blood and thunder style doesn't really work against the Blues because they've just got
They're just too big.
Yeah,
They're too big and strong.
They're perfectly happy to just play a game of ball rush in the pack and beat you up that way. So yeah, it is just the way the Force play. It's more of a mental thing, right? Like I know this isn't really how you want to be punting, but trusting the Blues to get the sort of results, like the Hurricanes, it doesn't feel great. But if you just look at all the players on the field and how everything's gone, yeah, you'd be hard pressed to see the Force hanging with them, especially knowing they need a bonus point. And some of the backs, they've got that depth in the back line in particular, the guys they can bring off the bench, AJ Lamb and the like, Akira Ioane coming off the bench late on, needing a couple of tries. It sounds pretty dangerous to me. So
yeah,
I think. Any other thoughts on that game, Paul?
No, I can't see anything else other than a significant Blues victory. The draw has worked out very, very well for them, I think. They probably wouldn't have wanted to meet anyone else except the Western Force at home in the last round, outside of maybe the Waratahs.
The only way this will be close, the only way, is if by some twist of fate, Highlanders and Crusaders don't win with bonus points or win without bonus points, and Blues just need to win.
Yeah.
They might get a lead and take a few players off for the final.
But I don't think
they've got 23 points. The others sitting on 22. They just have to hold a lead, and then Force might come back and make it reasonably close. But more likely than not, they will need to win and win with a bonus point or win by a certain amount. And I don't think resting players will be in their mindset.
The players probably won't know the result of the Crusaders game when they go on the field, though, right?
They always know, mate.
You reckon?
They know. They'll know exactly what it is, but they don't want that poisoning their mind.
Yeah,
you've got to go out.
Thing, they'll just say, no, we need a bonus point victory, even if they want to send a message for next week against the Crusaders or the Highlanders, whoever it ends up being. But probably brings us on to best bets time.
Talking about players knowing, I think there's an old story about Mark Waugh used to call the runner out in local grade cricket and test cricket and asked who won the last race at Randwick while he was batting against the Poms. Still knocked off a ton, and he was getting a guy running out with the results every race.
Didn't they put the Cox plate on the big screen for him during the
I think
Sheffield
they
Shield
did.
game at one stage or something?
The good old days.
Yeah, you'll love to hear it.
Waratahs Chiefs, less said about that, the better.
Mm.
Brookvale Oval, Saturday night. Neither side can make it. Tars have won a game all year. This is one where if you're talking points, it could be just exchange try for try, where Chiefs get a few more. Hard to get a good gauge on this one.
Yeah, going to be honest, I haven't done a lot of research into that one. There's 3 consequential games in the Hurricanes game. But yeah, I'll be switching off probably about 9 o'clock on.
Let's just remind everyone, though, the scores in the Waratahs matches this season, 112, 69, 82, and then 82 again. So, averaging realistically about 80 per match. And the way the Chiefs play, this game being, like we say, inconsequential, why won't it fall around 80? I can't see why it wouldn't. At least 70. I think it'll be a high scorer.
Yeah, then it's usually the defence that goes first in these sort of games.
Yeah.
Not that the Waratahs had much of that to fall back on in the first place. So.
They haven't brought any defence since round 1. Well, before round 1, actually.
It did hold the Hurricanes to 64 in round 1, to be fair to them. But we've got to make some bets. This is a betting podcast after all. A lot of work in front of us here, Paul, if we want to catch up to Fisky and make the final. But, all we can do is put our best foot forward. I don't know if we're in Chiefs mode or if we're in Highlanders mode. But, I'll let the man who is atop the standings lead off the batting. What's your best bet for us in round 5, Fisky?
I think I made it pretty clear. I love the Canes minus 13.5. I'm not going to get too crazy. I'm just going to have that bet straight up $1.90. Canes minus 13.5 tonight.
Interestingly, the 2 other competitors who have not here this week, both taking the Reds plus 13.5 as their best bets.
Makes me even more confident.
Wow.
Carl Tiley and Richard Lally, both Reds plus 13.5, $1.87.
Can we get a toilet sound? Those bets are you just flush your money down the loo there.
I'll let you pass that message on to them. But yeah, it's I'm not getting involved in that game for my best bet, but I'm going across to Leichhardt Oval Saturday afternoon. Going to just scroll down the page a little here. I need a big win to get back in the game. So
I can see an alternate line coming here.
You know it. I'm just going to go Crusaders minus 35.5, 260 for my best bet of the round. I think, even it's not the sort of thing when you go into a game with a mentality knowing we just need to roll these guys. You don't look at the scoreboard and go, we've got the 28 points. We stop now. They're going to absolutely put them to the sword, and they are more than capable of doing that, and they have done several times in the past. They are going to put a huge score on the Rebels. So yeah, that's me. How about you, Paul? What's your best bet?
I'm going to take a power play for all of my bets because I have so much ground to make up. My best bet: Aaron Smith to score a try, and the Highlanders to win by 10-20. That's paying $11.
$11 best bet.
That's my bet. I said.
Yeah.
Well, taking $1.27 shots for your best bet hasn't worked out so far.
So let's go the other end of the scale.
So what do we have there?
Aaron Smith to score a try and the Highlanders to win by 10-20, which you said they were around 15.
Yep.
Paying $11.
Sure. I'm not going to argue with that.
There we go. That's my best bet.
Well, I'm very excited to hear what your value bet is then. Do you want to go?
Go with the man who's got the hot hand.
Value bet?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got one here, and bear with me. So I don't mind the Highlanders. I think they'll do well. They're minus 7.5. We've got them in Canberra. Now, there's a bit of dependency here. If they cover that, it's more likely they're getting a bonus point. It's more likely then that the Crusaders do have to win with a bonus point. So I want to do a double. Highlanders minus 7.5 and the Crusaders minus 26.5. So I love the dependency factor. I think if I get the first bet, the second bet's an absolute moral. So you really need to get that Highlanders one up, and I think Crusaders will do what they need to do, which is win big. And that multi comes out at $3.37.
Yeah, no, it's a great little sort of cheating the system. Not cheating the system, but
it's cheating the system. I love it.
Yeah. Look, what
life hack, hunting hack.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get involved. What 20s, 30s, 40s? What's your value bet paying, Paul?
It's only paying $5 actually. Nani Lomapi, first, second, or third try scorer, and the Hurricanes to win, paying $5. So you can swap those two around if you want.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, neither of them are going to fit in the spreadsheet, are they? So I'll just have to screenshot them or something. But yep, like that. Big fan of Nani's work. We all know that. Crusaders minus 49.5, 570. I'm going the old correlated route for my best in value, just nudging it out a bit further.
49.5.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
They are going to put up a score. So yeah, that's my value. But just the other two blokes were Rissy's gone Blues 11 to 20 at $4 for his value. Carl Highlanders 11 to 20 also at $4. So I think we're probably both pretty keen on that Highlanders, given your best / value bet that you've already thrown out. And multi-anchor though. What's your multi-anchor, Paul?
No, Fisky.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, look, you could really we're not really looking at any upsets this week, so I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. I'm going to take the Hurricanes at 122. I think they'll just win. Adds a little bit of value to your multi to your other bets. So $1.22 Canes. That's my anchor.
Nice one, Paul. Dare I ask?
$17 anchor.
Well, Blues to win at $1.02. That I just can't do that, can I? I'm going to go Blues 13 and over at $1.22.
Ooh, that's way too. You're going to be chasing.
Now I'm going to play safe
all
for
right.
this one.
I'm not. Crusaders minus 26.5 and Tanani Lamape to score a try, 309. That's my multi-anchor. Nani's scoring a try tonight, and then the Crusaders
At least one.
Oh yeah, maybe Nani's. No, I'll just play it safe for the one try, and then the Crusaders. So that's that's my multi-anchor. The other ones here, what we got? Brumbies plus 17.5 alternate start. Richard. Crusaders minus 19.5, $1.50 from Carl. Carl's on the same page as me, and going to finish it off. Just need a try score at any game. I think we've got at least 4 of the 5 team lists already out. So, who have you got, Fisky? Who's dotting down?
Well, try time in any game.
Yeah, doesn't have to be the try time game. Can be any game from the round.
I'll stick with what I said. I'll stick with Ioane in the Highlanders game in Canberra. Big shout out to that power play, the one with Lamapi to score tries 1, 2, or 3.
And Canes
to win at $5. I think that's a good little play. I know it's not a try time bet, but I'll enjoy cheering that one tonight as well.
Artie Severe, $3.
Yep, like that. Artie, great ball runner. I'm going also to the Hurricanes game. I'm just going to go with my man Ruben Love, 330.
Ruben Love.
He's been getting more confidence as the season goes on, carrying the ball to the line more. If this does break open, like 330 for a starting first 5.
This could be a good same game multi game for Canes.
Oh,
you could make an argument for Lamapi, Geordie. Who'd you have there? Ruben,
Asafo. For the Canes, you always want
and
to
then Artie. So it's you can throw 3 or 4 and they get a decent price and be a massive runner.
Yeah, no, it could be a few in the Crusaders game. Obviously, same game multi is not available for that one, but chuck a few try scorers in there because get your Will Jordans, your Flying Inukus, your Richie Moongas all in. That's a great game for a same game multi.
Who won't score?
Yeah, that'd be the bigger question. Yeah, needed to not score a try option for most of those. I think that just about finishes us up for the week, though.
Yep.
Lads, thanks very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you in studio, Fisky, and always a pleasure to spend an hour sitting alongside you, Paul. So thanks for trudging up here.
Thanks, Paddy. Appreciate it, mate.
You back for grand final preview?
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Blues v Crusaders at Eden Park. You heard it here first.
Boom.
Yep. Lock it in. We'll be back next week, no matter whether it's the Blues, Crusaders, Highlanders, maybe the Hurricanes. Who knows? It won't be the Hurricanes, but we'll be back to preview the final this time next week. Enjoy all the footy this weekend. We'll talk to you next week, Hunters. Cheers.